to my channel. I hope you're doing well. Today's going to be a bit of a, what can I say? A different video. I've been meaning to do this for a while, as when I was looking for information like this, it's a Lego brick, I couldn't find anything, and I'm just going to lean against the wall because my back hurt. I couldn't find anything, and I thought this might be helpful for some other people. Yeah, I thought I'd just tell you my story. It's a bit like a story time. So it's to do with natural breech birth, which Stanley was, and a C-section, which Jack was. So if you're interested, please carry on watching. I'm sorry if you can hear children. I've had to bribe Grace to take Jack upstairs to watch a film, but I think she's arguing with Stanley. That's all I can hear at the moment. Let me try and move you forward. You might fall, you might fall. Yeah, so I'll get going with the story. When I was pregnant with Stanley, I had no issues that I knew of, like nothing. I am gonna say, how can I? Oh yeah, I'm gonna say there might be a trigger warning. I'm not gonna go into too much detail about anything, but just in case. And I'm not gonna put the NHS down, but there was one certain midwife who was crap. So I've had, obviously four midwives. 3 have been absolutely fantastic. So I'm not putting the NHS down, I'm just putting down this crap midwife basically. Right, so with George and Grace, I had, apart from George being born at 36 weeks, for no reason my waters just broke, him and Grace's pregnancies were absolutely fine, no issues, nothing, straightforward births. Grace literally fell out because I was only in labour for about an hour, and literally made it to the hospital, and she was born like 10 minutes later. So, and we were home 6 hours later, going through the drive-through McDonald's. But that's what I'm trying to say. 2 brilliant births, so really lucky actually. And then it came to Stanley, and because my BMI was quite high at the time, well it still is, but I mean like that was a lot higher then. You are meant to see a consultant, have growth scans, just all these checkups at certain points during your pregnancy. And she ticked all the boxes in my booking appointment, the crap midwife at the doctors, and she put me down as being high risk, blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. And she went, you'll get an appointment from the consultant, you get this, you get that, and you know what I mean, all this sort of stuff. And it never happened. I rang her, I told her, I texted her, I tried to ring the hospital myself, and they were saying that there's no, what's the word, you're not on like the list to be seen by the consultant. So when I went to see my crap midwife, I think I was about 34 weeks, she said maybe they didn't need to see you, maybe because you've had 2 straightforward pregnancy, they didn't need to see you, so they're not worried about your weight. So I thought, oh, fair enough, like didn't think nothing of it. And and at that appointment she did try me again, and they said I'm not on the books. And looking back now, she should have said I should have been added to the books, but I didn't think right then. And didn't notice nothing different with the pregnancy, like apart from one thing, which I just thought that was the way he was laying, because it just didn't make sense. Whenever I used to sit down, this little bump used to come up here, like his head, I thought it was his bum, used to come up like this, and I just didn't think nothing of it because he was always like pushing out, like stretching out. And he was due, what date was he due? The 9th of January. And too much information, I lost my plug on the 9th, on his due date. So I didn't think nothing of it. And usually when I like lose my plug, my babies are born like 4 hours later, 6 hours later. Like George was 6 hours, Grace was literally like 4 hours. So I thought, oh, it was going to happen today, and it didn't, which was a bit strange for me. I know everything's different, but it just didn't seem right to me. And the next day when I got up, my waters broke, and obviously we went to the hospital and all that kind of jazz. They checked me over and said I was, I think, 3 to 4 centimetres, and they sent me up to the maternity ward to progress. But no one listens to the fact that I've had quite quick labours. No one believe you when you say it. I've found that so much in hospitals, that no one believe you. That even 2 minutes before I said Grace was born, 5 minutes before Grace was born, so I got up to the hospital and all that stuff, I said I need to push her. No you didn't, and then she was born. So trust your gut. If you think you got to push, just bloody push. I'm fed up with people telling me that I don't need to push. And I got upstairs to the maternity ward. This lovely midwife come over, and she said to me, I can tell you're further along than what they think. And she had a good old feel, felt my bump, and she went, we need to take you down. And she went, do you want me to get a wheelchair? I walked down, because you know when you're in that, like, what's it called? When you just survive, and I can't think what it is, autopilot. When you're on autopilot, I just went, no, I'll walk, that's fine, that was only down the corridor. So I got to the delivery suite, and my contractions came. They were all in the bottom of my back, absolutely killed my back. And I had another midwife check me over, and she was a bit more brisk, but I think I needed it because I'm a wet fart when I come and giving birth. I try to get off the bed and go home, things like that. I'm a right wimp. Never had time for pain relief, so I'm doing it with nothing, which isn't my choice. I'll take everything if I had to. And the midwife said to me, do you want any painkillers? And I can't remember what it's, pethidine, that's it. She said, do you want some pethidine? And I said, yes please. And my mum was going, you'll have to stay in hospital, because I don't like staying in hospital. I hate it, absolutely hate staying in hospital. And she went, you have to stay in, not in a nasty way. She was just, because I'd done it twice before, she knew I could do it again, like she was trying to say. And the midwife come back in, she checked me over again. She went, did you say you're having a boy or a girl? And I went, a boy. And she went, I can't feel nothing, there's no bits there. And I was like, oh my god, we bought everything blue and it's going to turn out to be a girl, which is fine, which would have been quite nice actually, but not when you got your heart set on the sex and the name and all that, and you find out at 20 weeks what he is, you know what I mean, like that. And then she went, that isn't a head. No, that's it. She went, I think he's breech. That's it, that's what she said. She went, I don't think this is a head, this is a bum. Didn't think nothing of it, because I was like, out of my skull, like, in pain, like, you just didn't think. And she went, that definitely isn't a girl, definitely isn't a boy, that's a girl. And we all just looked at each other, and then she went, but he is breech. And that's when I went into panic mode. I pictured everything. I just watched Call the Midwife at Christmas that year, and that was a breech baby, and I was terrified. So it was like fate. Hang on, my child's coming downstairs. I was at the point of pushing, there was no time for a C-section, so I had to like give birth to him as a breech. And I do have to say, it wasn't what how can I say it? It wasn't so much the pain of pushing him out, it was my hips. My back and my hips felt like they were like splitting into two. And I hadn't had no pain relief because she wouldn't give me the diamorphine. Was it diamorphine? No, it's not diamorphine, that's a totally different thing, isn't it? Pethidine, because I would have been dopey and I wouldn't have been able to push him out, and that had been quite serious. And I pushed him out, and my mum went, oh, the worst bit's out, like his bum come out, but it weren't. That was the head come out last, and that is horrible. But as he was being born, they shouted at Dave to press the emergency button, you know, like on Call the Midwife, no, not on Call the Midwife, one born every minute, they press this button and the whole maternity or delivery suite all come running in. It was like that. And I had this man shouting at me, push, 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 and he was out within about 3 pushes. And he came out a bit shocked, and he didn't cry for a little while, and we didn't get to cut his cord, which I'm absolutely gutted about. Everyone has cut, but like, even in my C-section Dave trimmed it, do you know what I mean? So he technically did cut it as well. And yeah, he was fine, absolutely fine when he was born, just a bit off colour, but he got there. And then we thought we were going to go home straight away because the doctor said, but they said his sugar levels are really low, so we had to stay in for 12 hours for them to be monitored. And then at midnight we were allowed to go home because he was born at like 10 to 12 a.m. Yeah. And so we went home and everything was fine, but I kept saying to Dave, there's something wrong, I know there is something wrong. And he just thought, because he, how can I say this, he tried and calm me down, but that is a good way of doing it, but he doesn't, that I was right about something wrong. We didn't find out for a few years, but there was something wrong. So due to Stanley's birth, he has a damaged pituitary gland due to a trauma to his brain. And he's had DNA checks, he's had genetics tests, he's had DNA mutations checked to see if he had an infection while he was inside of me. But no, that's all come back clear, like nothing to do with that. So they're putting on the fact that that was his traumatic birth and they didn't know he was a breech. So bear that in mind. He now has daily injections and all that. I don't know if my new subscribers know that, but he has daily injections for growth hormone. He's being watched 24/7. His damaged pituitary gland could cause more issues. He just burped. He's sitting on top of the stairs. could cause more issues as he grow up with his hormones. He's being checked all the time. He has blood tests every 6 months, and it could stop him having kids when he's older. We just don't know at the minute. He's still quite young, but he's having growth hormone injections daily, and he's doing really well and growing and all that. So at the minute we're doing fine. So fast forward to Jack's pregnancy. He was my 4th baby. How can I say this? Wasn't a planned 4th baby due to the fact of Stanley's issues, and at that time we didn't really know what was going on. We knew... Alright, Stanley! And at that time we didn't really know what was going on with Stanley, apart from the growth hormone deficiency. He was still having his genetics test and all that stuff. And we saw, during Jack's pregnancy, absolutely fine, but the little git was Breech. Another Breech. And I have to say that I was offered... this is the thing, because I'd given birth naturally once, they were all going, oh, you can do it again, you can do it. Anyway, I can't remember what I got up to, I'm trying to think. So I asked for a C-section for Jack, because due to Stanley's issues, I didn't really want to give birth to a breech baby. Again, naturally, due obviously to the head trauma. That hasn't been confirmed, but nothing else has come up. And even the Adam Brooks genetics team say there's trauma to the brain. Like i.e. birth, they wrote on it. Like, he could have banged his head, but there's nothing, he didn't have no trauma like that to bang his head and to damage his pituitary gland. But anyway, I asked about C-section all the way through, and my midwife, who was lovely, went, but you've done it once before, do it again, you can walk out, you'll be fine, all this and blah blah blah. You won't want to go through the stress of a C-section, blah blah blah. But in the end I chose a C-section. My consultant, I think he was the consultant who booked me in for my C-section, asked me again and went, why do you want to do this? And I said, and explained about Stanley. He gave me a funny look and didn't agree with what I was saying, but I've got Adam Brooks and genesis, I can never say that word, geneticists backing me up. So no, I didn't want to give birth naturally. So my C-section was booked in, let me try and work out how you do, 20th of August, and my waters broke the Sunday on the 18th. So I had to go in, and because I was on blood thinners due to my weight and due to the 4th baby, I had my blood thinners at 11 o'clock that night. They couldn't do nothing to the following, like midday, 11 midday, like next day. So my waters broke about 2 o'clock in the morning, half 2, I can't remember really. And because we faffed around getting everything in the car and just trying to get there because we were all half asleep, I think we ended up at the hospital about 3:30. So we had to sit there from 3:30 till 11. And if I went into labour, because they knew my labours were quick, they listened this time. They said, as soon as you get a twinge, we're rushing you in, but you'll have to be put out. Which at that moment in time I was like, oh yeah, please please, but obviously I didn't want to. Looking back now, that would have been a nice experience, but if I had to, I would have done. Like, I wouldn't have known any difference, do you know what I mean? And so I went down for my C-section. I think it was about 12:10. I can't really remember. And that walk to the theatre, there was the exit there and the theatre's like there, and I thought I could run. I could run and make it away, because I was petrified of a C-section. Absolutely petrified. I do have to say, I found the cannulas worse than the C-section. I can't do cannulas. They are evil, like, for any pregnancy. Like, I had one with George to get my contractions going a bit more because they slowed down, and oh my god, my hands aching thinking about it now. I had one in each hand and I could just feel like a pressure, like the pain. But anyway, I walked down to the theatre. Dave went and got his scrubs on. They took me into the theatre, sat me on the bed. I had a lovely midwife who was with me the whole way through. We were discussing all baby names, because at this point Jack didn't have a name. So they were going all through names. Lent on the midwife. She done the general anaesthetic. That stung more than anything, the general anaesthetic. Not like a kick in the back, that was just like a weird feeling. And then I had the spinal, which makes your legs go like electric shock, and that was what you meant to feel, and they went numb. That was absolutely fine. And then they laid me on the bed, put the curtain up, and within 20 minutes he was born. My blood pressure did keep dipping quite a bit, like it got quite low, and I was trying to have a sleep, and the doctor said I had a man behind my neck. Another thing with the cannulas, a man come in to do them. I can never say anaesthesia. I can't. The man who's in charge of doing it, he done my spinal anyway, and he put one cannula in, and I went all hot. I nearly passed out, and that's just me. I'm always like that with blood tests. I'm not good with medical things. It's not the pain, it's the thought of things. Like when I have a blood test, if if someone in with me and like laugh about something, I literally walk out and go bleh. But it's the fact that someone's taking stuff out of your body that I don't like. Injections, I'll just walk in and have one. It don't bother me at all. But he couldn't get my cannula in. He was pressing it. My hand went like this. I cried. I am a bit of a wimp, I do have to say. I cried, and he got it in. And oh my god, my hand throbbed. He wrapped it up because I kept looking at it and going green. And he come in 10 minutes later, and he went, I've got to do one on the other hand. And I howled. I just cried. I literally just cried. But he got that in straight away. And then, funny enough, I'll carry on talking. We'll get to needles again in a little while. And it's amazing what your brain does when you're knackered. And I said to Dave, I hope you're doing my spinal, because he was just very shy. I think it's because I got myself in such a wreck, he didn't really know what to do. And went from a spinal. Obviously, he was my anaesthesia. I don't know, doctor, like anaesthetic doctor, we'll call him. And he sat by my head the whole time, and he was amazing, I do have to say. He kept saying, I'm now going to pump stuff through your cannula, you're going to feel it, you're going to feel a bit lightheaded. He was brilliant, honestly, absolutely brilliant. And I can't fault my C-section. At the time, I was petrified, but they were so lovely. It's not like, obviously it is medical because you're being cut open and you're in a sterile room and all this and all that, but they would just like talk about what they're having for tea, what their sons were doing for jobs, what they were doing the next day because they were all off. That was like, and they were including me in it, and they were still going through baby names. I'll do like my son's baby name, he's called Spencer, and things like that. That honestly, that was a lovely experience, a really nice experience. And I do have to say, I think I preferred it over my I don't want to say natural vagina births, because I was in control. I could talk to people, I was there. Like when I was having the other three, because that goes so quick, I get in a state and can't enjoy it, and it just happens so quick, which people go is brilliant. It's not, because your body go into shock. Like it's not nice, like really quick. It's not nice. And that was nice to be there in the moment, and like heard him come out and cry. Dave got to hold him for the first time. He's never held one of us for the first time, so that was nice. What else went on? I'm trying to think what else happened. The feeling of a C-section is like a washing machine in your belly. You know, like when you go over a bump in the road and your belly goes, look, it's a bit like that. So it didn't hurt. It's just a very weird feeling, like a very weird feeling. I also had the coil put in because they asked me if I wanted one, and that come out a week later. So I wouldn't advise having a coil in your C-section. They do say that can happen because your cervix, I think it's your cervix, is still quite open. So they put I think they put it there, I don't really know. The way she explained it is, I mean, your bed's still a bit open even if you had a C-section, so it can fall out, and it did fall out. I had this like little anchor floating around the bath. But anyway, so after my C-section, we were taken back to recovery, like just behind the room, like, and I was holding him, and I'm not joking, this man was so good looking. And he was the one, he come up to me, and I didn't know what they had. They have like a spray to see if you can feel, because you've got to feel a certain amount. He was spraying all up my legs and all up my boob, and like, you know what I mean, just so you could feel it. Like, you weren't spraying my boob, like up the side. And yeah, that was a bit awkward, but at the time I really didn't care. We went back to the ward, and I hadn't had a drink since about 5 o'clock the day before, and like an idiot, my mum was waiting in the waiting room. She bought me a bottle of Coke, and I swigged it, and then I didn't advise that, and then I went bleh. So I didn't advise that. What else really happened? Dave stayed with me a little while. So he was born at 25 past 12. I've got to check these birth dates. 25 past 12, and by 5 o'clock I was sitting in a chair with a catheter in, like you keep that in for a while. Feeling fine. It's a strange feeling. It's like, I can't explain it. Like, it's, I don't know. And by 10 o'clock I was walking around, but in my C-section I lost quite a lot of blood, and they wanted to check to see if I needed what's it called, blood transfusion. That's the one. And because I had blood thinners, that obviously thins your blood, and that's hard to get blood. So I had a blood test about every hour, and they just couldn't do it. And in the end, like, I was eating my tea at like 1 o'clock in the morning because I weren't that hungry after he was born, and I got like a little, it was called an afternoon tea. It was bloody lovely, the best meal I've ever had. And I was munching that, and they were trying to take blood out of my hands, they were stabbing me, and I didn't care. I just didn't care. In the end, they got like this, I didn't even know what it is, like a little triangle thing, and they put it like down here. Didn't even hurt. Like, I was like, at that point I didn't care. So it was strange what your brain can do, because if that was me normally, I'd been gone, I'd been crying, I'd been laying on the floor. I started walking about 10 o'clock and went for a wee. You have to fill a certain amount of wee up and all that stuff. Thought I was going to be in a couple of days, and then I had a bad night with Jack. That was like, he just obviously didn't want to sleep. You're on an adrenaline rush, aren't you, when you're on your own? And there was like these people, this 17-year-old girl who just had a C-section, and I'm not being funny, that was like the end of the world for her. Like, she would refuse to get out with the baby. I know it's hard, but she just moaned the whole time. Her mum was allowed to stay, which I thought, well, I wouldn't mind my husband staying, but I know she was only 17. But Christ, she went on. And at 7 o'clock, I did get a bit upset about 7 o'clock in the morning, because I thought, I can't stay here another night with no sleep. And I know you didn't sleep with a newborn, but it's just, I just wanted to be home. I don't like hospitals. And at 8 o'clock, a woman came around and said, I'm doing a meeting in a little while, you can go home. Later on, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait. And then we had Bounty come around and take pictures, which was a faff, and she was going, I'll do this, I'll do that. And I thought, oh, please just leave me alone. You get caught up, they like prey on you, don't they? They're not allowed to now, are they? It's been they've been proven that they prey on you. And just sit there, dog. And yeah, so I got all this thing, they show you how to bath baby, check for empty cots, all that sort of stuff like you have when you check out of hospital. And yeah, we had to hang on. By 4 o'clock they said I could go home, but I had to wait for my prescription of 6 weeks worth of blood thinners, which I had been on since 28 weeks. And I did have a load at home, I had enough at home, so in the end we just said, can we go home? And I went home. No, and I walked out, the furthest I walked from the hospital, I had to sit down somewhere, and a man come up to me and went, you alright, love? Because they went to get the car, and I just sat on a bench, and I felt like death. Like, it's just, it's tiredness, it's not the pain, it's just the, Daisy, do you mind? Ugh. It's just the tiredness that gets you. It's not the pain. Like, it's a weird feeling, I can't explain, it's like a stitch. We have got stitches, but you know what I mean? Like, I can't explain it. It's not like, it's like a pain like that where you have to crouch. Like, I don't want to play it down and then like someone go, oh, it's only like a period pain. Can you move, dog? Period pain stitch is worse than that, but it's like the feeling of that. I can't explain it. And we went home. I went to bed. And yeah, that was alright. The worst day was the 3rd day, because you get that's when the baby blues are meant to hit you, isn't it? And that was the first day I had a shower, because I was petrified of having a shower. No one told me I could shower. I had one at the hospital, and I was just wanted a bath. I'm not a shower person, I just wanted a bath. And Dave had to help me in the shower, and I just howled the whole time. Just because it's the baby blues, isn't it? But I found walking about alright. Like, I didn't do too much, but I walked about quite a bit. Like, if he needed a bottle, I went to do that, because it got me up moving about. Take painkillers whenever, like 4 hours or whatever you're doing, even if you think you're going to feel alright, because I did that one day and thought, yeah, I'm bloody brilliant, I feel so good. But you might be healed on like the outside, but inside you're still all bruised and that, and painful, and your back from the spine, or your back just ache and things like that. I did have to go a bit hardcore and get, I think it was codeine I had in the end, not hardcore, but you know what I mean, to help for a few days, because I just needed something to, I don't know, it's just aches and pains really, not like just from your scar, it's just like your whole body, like from your cannulas, you just feel like you've been prodded about too much, a bit like that. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed my C-section. This was actually a positive story. I wish I'd gone in knowing everything like that, because it was hard, like recovery is hard, but I really enjoyed it, and I wanted people to know this, because when people talk about C-sections, I know some people have had horrible experiences, I get that, but there isn't many some people don't like talking about their positive stories because they don't want to upset the people who had a hard time, which I get. Like, I can see how you can have a horrible time. And I just thought I'll talk about my breech birth. Again, if you want a breech birth, go for it. Like, just because something happened to my child doesn't mean it's going to happen to anyone else. Like, I know quite a few people that had a breech birth and all has been well. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed my little story time. It's a bit random, but I thought you'd rather watch a video of me yapping than me moaning about lockdown. So thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Hopefully once lockdown's done and dusted, we can get back to hauls and all that. I ain't even been in a shop. I went in one shop the other day, and that was Co-op to pick some nappies up. I haven't been in Home Bargain since November or nothing, and I'm dying to get in there. So once things are back to normal, the kids are back to normal, once the kids are back at school and things like that, I can start getting going and getting my hauls, days out, everything. I can't wait for the summer. We're just going to have so many days out, so many trips to the zoo. Well, we're going to try to, because they're bloody expensive. But thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, like I said. Give us the thumbs up, and I will see you again another day. Goodbye.